Today I'm at Nunnington Hall in Yorkshire, a garden which has been run on organic principles by head gardener Nick Fraser for over 17 years. The garden is highly productive and bursting with life, and at the centre of everything is a composting system which Nick is going to tell us all about. So Nick, you make loads of compost here at Nunnington, don't you?
We do. We make several tonnes a year. It's a fantastic way to recycle all the garden waste that comes from the garden, all the grass clippings. We recycle a lot of the kitchen waste, and then we can produce our own soil conditioners, our own mulches, and even some great compost that we can use in our own compost mixers.
So this is where the composting process starts, isn't it?
Yes, this is bay one. This is where all the magic starts happening. We've been filling this one for about 3 weeks. We've got grass clippings, we've got some shredded leaves, we've got some herbaceous plants, and we've got some annual plants. I can see some cosmos in there, some astrantia that's been chopped down. And so everything always comes into bay one. And this is where we start getting quite a lot of heat building up in here. And if I lift this off, we should see some steam coming off
yeah.
there.
Yeah, wow. And that stuff's just been added in the last few weeks.
This is actually only about 10 days worth of compost in here, so it takes us about 4 weeks to fill a bay before we then turn it into the next bay.
Okay, and everything looks really well chopped up. Is that important?
It's very important to chop it up as well as you can. You're going to get a finer compost, a better soil conditioner, and it will turn quicker if it's well processed beforehand. And it's also important to try and get a good mix between very green substances and very brown substances.
So is there anything that you don't put in the compost heap? Like what about perennial weeds?
Yeah, there's one or two things. If your heap is big enough, there is a school of thought that absolutely everything will compost. However, on a smaller scale and at home and in a garden that's open to the public, there's one or two things that I just wouldn't risk. So we wouldn't put bindweed in and we wouldn't put ground elder in. We do risk it with the odd bit of couch grass and nettles. Probably wouldn't advise it at home in a small compost heap, but pretty much everything else apart from pernicious weeds will compost and break down. Everything organic will ultimately break down, but depending on time and heat.
And so then at some point you move this lot into the next bay.
So yes, after this is full, after about 4 or 6 weeks, it all gets turned into bay 2. This will regenerate some heat, it'll add a little bit of oxygen in, and we start getting a little bit of worm activity happening inside there. So this is about 6 to 8 weeks old now, and you can already see it started to turn. It's quite coarse, and some people will actually use a compost as coarse as this, because a coarse compost is very good for a mulch, because the coarseness will mean it will sit on the surface, it will act as a really good moisture retention and a real good weed suppression layer.
Yeah, so I would already, I've got compost that often doesn't get much more broken down than this, and I use it. But you go on to turn it again.
We do. It's not only for the quality, but it's also for the ease of use, because all my volunteers know that all the compost, all the garden clippings will start off in bay 1, and we know that the finished compost is always in bay 4. So it's actually 1 or 2 turns more than you would have to do, but it means we're getting a fantastic product, and it's keeping quite a simple process.
Okay, yeah, so show me what's in bay 3 then.
So you can see here it's getting quite fine. We're getting a lot of worm activity inside. Huge amount of worms in there, crawling around.
So where do the worms come from?
And because there's so much food source available in the earlier bays, that they're laying eggs and they're proliferating in huge amounts to then do the composting work for us.
This looks like the finished product to me, but you turn it once more into a storage bay, do you?
So once more, it gives us the option to do a little bit of quality control, remove any sticks or twigs that are in there, and then we have the final product here, which is now this wonderful, friable black gold, ready to be used as a mulch, which will go on the whole garden in March. We'll be using it on the vegetable beds as part of our no-dig process, and we'll also be using it in some of our home compost mixes that we'll use throughout the season.
Wow, that is lovely looking stuff. Okay, and then for people wanting to make this themselves, they don't have to have 4 big bays, do they?
You don't need to have 4 big bays. You can do it in 1, but that's quite difficult. I would advise doing it in either 2 small bays or 2 Dalek, 2 of the plastic bins, and then 1 you can be filling with the other one you're using. When that's empty, then you can start filling that one, turn the second one, use that, and then you've got an empty bay to start filling again.
And how long would you think that people need to be leaving their bin to break down before they can start using it?
It depends on the amount of turns, and depends on how much garden waste you're generating from your garden, so I think that normally dictates. So by the time it's full, then once it's full, it might take 3 months, it might take 6 months, then you turn that and then you can start filling your other bay.
National Trust gardens can be great sources of inspiration, and our gardeners and volunteers are always happy to talk. So why not come along and visit one of our places, or get the National Trust School of Gardening from our shop.